Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Let's give a warm welcome to our main speaker, Bob.
I'm Bob. I'm an alcoholic. And the great thing about speaking at this meeting, you get a seat saved. And it's also, you don't have to speak for very long, so it's kind of nice. Happy birthday, everybody. Special one to Sarah. Nice seeing people at pre-day one. And welcome to all the newcomers, especially welcome to Cody, who's new with us, and everybody else. But a lot of people here are friends and know my story, but it's the same story. And when I was 9 years old, my mother tried to kill me with a butcher knife, and it was pretty bloody and pretty violent. And I don't know if that has anything to do with my alcoholism, but it had a lot to do with me feeling different than you. And me feeling unloved. When your own mother tries to do you, you feel unloved. Whenever I speak, I talk a lot about my sponsor, Eddie Cochran, who's 46 years sober. And Eddie describes it this way. He says, I have this cosmic turd that follows me around in the universe. And so again, I don't know if that had anything to do with me being alcoholic, but it had sure a lot to do with me feeling a word I learned after I got into Alcoholics Anonymous, and that word is shame. And with the holidays just passed, it reminded me when I started drinking when I was 12, alcoholic first time, got drunk, threw up, loved it. Left home, moved to Skid Row, downtown LA, and I remember one Christmas down on Skid Row walking in the morning and walking for hours and walking into a residential area, and it was now nightfall, and I would stand on the sidewalk and look into their windows, and I would see the Christmas tree there and people, shadows of people moving, and I would think that there were probably like warmth and love and comfort. And I knew that I could never get off the sidewalk and be a part of that. And that was, part of what my alcoholism was, always being on the outside. And I drank an awful lot of Four Roses whiskey. That was my drink of choice. And when I was 14 and a half, I started mixing that with heroin. So that's what worked for me for a lot of years, was my Four Roses whiskey and heroin. And it took me to places that I'd never want to go again. When I was down on Skid Row, nobody ever asked me where my parents were, why I wasn't in school. It was, a safe, comfortable place. And pretty much the same thing when I went to San Quentin. Was safe, comfortable, got the right gang affiliations put across my chest, and really enjoyed violence. I think it had something to do with my event that happened with my mom, but I was drawn towards it, not away from it. And one of the many gifts of Alcoholics Anonymous has been the gift of that changing for me. I'd like to tell, like when I pulled into a 7-Eleven to get some milk after a meeting, and two guys were right out front of the door getting ready to box. And I got all butterflies and nervous and turned the car and went somewhere else. And that's like a spiritual milestone for me, because before I would have got out of the car and joined them. So I'm glad I get scared now and I get butterflies. I did a lot of drinking and drug taking in prison, and I had a cellmate there for a while who, there was this kind of event that happened and he got sent to Folsom. And I was paroled, and I was in a market in the valley, and I had a sawed-off shotgun covered up by a jacket, and was waiting for that intuitive feeling to take out the market. And this guy who had been my cellmate at San Quentin came up the aisle, and he 12-stepped me. And a guy named Danny T., who just turned 30 years sober. And Danny took me home, and he put me on his couch, and he started taking me to meetings. And I kind of felt Danny and I were kind of on the same kind of fabric. And I thought, well, maybe if he could stay sober, I'll check this out. And within a couple of weeks, I met Eddie, who's been my sponsor ever since. And last October, I turned 23 years sober. And I'm I am so in awe of that I've stayed over 23 years. And I'm really glad I still feel like a newcomer and behave like one most of the time. But I was at a meeting last night, 4th in Wilshire, and this guy got up and took a cake for, 28 years. And I turned to the person sitting next to me and I said, God, they've been sober a long time. And they said, and they kind of gave me that look, because I don't have a perception that I've been sober a long time. And I'm very thankful, though, because a lot of what I really believe in quantity, because I have a lot of sober experiences to fall back on that help me get through things today that could be tough. And so I was on Danny's couch, put me in a sober living, Chandler Lodge in North Hollywood. Nothing fancy, just good AA. And I started this journey that I didn't think I could stay. I made a commitment for 30 days. I didn't think I could stay any longer than that. And that shows you what my best thinking does for me. And a lot of, my sobriety has been around my sponsor, Eddie. He is a happy alcoholic, for those of you who don't know him. His nickname is the Grasshopper. I'm an angry, depressed type, as described in the book. My favorite Eddie story, couple of them I'll tell, but one of them is I was about 4 months sober. We're on our way to a meeting. I turned down his car radio and I said, Eddie, I need to ask you something really important. He says, sure, kid, ask me anything. I said, Eddie, it's about sex. Eddie, I don't know if I like boys or girls or dogs or trees, but I'm having these feelings, Eddie, I've never had before. And he said, no thanks, I'm happily married. So he always takes the power out of what I'm, And then Eddie did something right around that same time that really is what kind of hooked me in here. I think I was just coming to meetings, kind of waiting to leave. And Eddie called me up at Chandler Lodge and he said, Bob, I can't pick you up tonight. My dad's really sick and he had a stroke and he's in the VA hospital. I'm going to go sit with him. But I've already made arrangements for 2 men you haven't met yet to pick you up at 7:30. And that's the way I sponsor. He couldn't be there, but he made sure somebody was there. And I just sponsor the way my sponsor sponsored me. And so at 7:30, these 2 guys pick me up, a guy named Bob and a guy named Don. I get in the car, and we head off to the old Sunday night Wilshire Normandy meeting. And get in the back seat of the car. It's a 2-door, and it's a brand new car. So I asked Bob, the driver, how long you've been sober? And he said, 4 years, grace of God, 12 steps. So glad to have you with us, kid. And I said, oh, thanks, Bob. It's a brand new car, right? And he says, yeah, I just ordered it, special ordered it. And I said, what kind of job do you have to have a car like this, Bob? And he says, I'm a deputy sheriff, Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. That's nice, Bob. And a little more time goes on, and I ask the guy sitting shotgun, how long he's been sober, and Don says 17 years, 12 steps. Glad to have you with us, kid. And I said, thanks, Don. What kind of work do you do? And he says, oh, I'm a Superior Court judge, criminal courts, county law. I want to strangle Eddie. So now I'm in this big meeting. They're introducing me. Meet Eddie's new baby, Bob. He's a junkie. It's like, and I can't wait to get away from them. They're bringing me coffee, introducing me to everybody. And so they drive me back to Chandler Lodge at the end of the meeting, and they pull up, and it's like they secretly got together during the coffee break and plotted this. But as they pulled up, they turned off the engine of the car, and it was silent. I can't get out because it's a two-door, and I'm in the back seat. And they both stood and stared at me in the back seat, just stared at me, and were writing something on their cards. And I never remember exactly what their words were, but they handed me their business cards with their home numbers on it. The sheriff card and the judge card. And their words were something like, Bob, if you need somebody to talk to at 4 a.m, you don't want to drink, you could call us. If you need a ride to a meeting, Bob, call us. And all of a sudden, the magic happened for me, and for the first time in Alcoholics Anonymous. It just became 3 men trying to stay sober one more day. It wasn't about a convict junkie or a cop or a judge. And that's kept me coming back to Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm one of those people that I need to feel Alcoholics Anonymous. I need to be touched by it. Every meeting I go to, I get touched in some way. Seeing Sarah, giving her a 1-year cake and seeing her at day 1, that touches me. I need to be touched, and the reason I guess I need to be touched so deeply all the time is because I'm absolutely insane. And I've recognized that for a long time, and people close to me really know that, but Jeff, who I sponsor, who has 16 years sober, he's here with a guy he sponsors who have 1 year and 5 days, who's 17 years old. So you watch it all get passed along. But when Jeff comes over to my house, he leaves, but he waits for me because he knows that I'm going to be at least 5 minutes because I'll be in and out. I think, did I leave the toaster on? Did I close the window? Did I put the answering machine on? And then I'll lock the door. Then I'll go back in because I thought maybe I left the coffee pot on. That's over 23 years sober. I still do that. I just like, meh. And it's okay because that's what I got dealt, And remember, it's about a couple years ago. I was in Miami on business, and I went into this island trading company in South Beach, and they had this lampshade that was just really magnificent. And I just knew this lampshade just fit my place. But I'm not going to be like a tourist and carry a lampshade from Miami to L.A. So I figure I'll get back to L.A. and it's Los Angeles. There's got to be tons of lampshades. So I come back, I get the yellow pages out. 3 days, I'm in every lampshade place. Orange County, L.A. I'm canceling appointments. Because I just know the next store will have the lampshade. And they didn't, and I wasn't going to just take any lampshade. So I flew back to Miami. And I have it sitting there at home. I'm very happy with my lampshade. So that's alcoholism, at least my variety of it, but it's in ways, now it's lampshades. It's hard to talk 10 minutes about what 23 years of sobriety have been, and it's been, a lot of growing up and a lot of pain, and it's been a tremendous amount of joy. I hope you feel about your sobriety the way I feel about mine, but I feel like I'm the most blessed person in the world. And, I came here completely alone. And today, I'm quick to recognize how many people I have in my life that love me and whom I love, and who people that care about me and I care about them, and I created family here. And I have traveled too. I've been all over the world many times, and I go to meetings wherever I am. I've been to meetings in bomb shelters in Israel and back rooms and Chile. In fact, went to an AA meeting, English-speaking meeting in Santiago, Chile, and then the group there, the locals, took me and the guy I was with to a titty bar in Santiago, and they were Guatemalan women dancing to Rawhide. I mean, I thought I went into a Fellini movie or something. It was very, very strange. But, I go to meetings wherever I am, and I feel so grateful for that. And probably the thing that's kept me grounded the most here, and more than anything, is service. Because it's the only thing that kind of gets me out of Bob world. I could just be in Bob world just like that. And it's a frightening place. And so if I think about you and I see the things that happen for you, then I feel good about me. And like they're my one-armed drummer friend in the room who I've watched get sober and come here, and so many other people that I'm blessed to have as friends, and I get to watch that happen and get the joy coming back from that, and it keeps me running. It's my gasoline, it keeps me out of Bob world, lets me know that I'm not alone, and just doing a lot of work now, trying to live in emotional sobriety today, because like all of us, we have things that are going on, and I don't like most of what's going on for me, but there's not too much I could do about it, but acceptance and go with the flow, and it's been even more vital to have Alcoholics Anonymous with me every day, because when you're basically sick with a terminal disease and you live alone, it's real easy to go in Bob world. It's like, here I am all alone. I'll die and people won't find me for 6 months. It's like, right, Bob, just quack, quack, it's like and the gift of Alcoholics Anonymous and about having emotional sobriety is today I'm okay. And today is Saturday night. I'm over 23 years sober. I'm 53 years old. I got a great life, a lot of friends, a lot of people I love. And I need to stay right there, because if I leave right there, it all falls apart. And I'm scared, scared. I didn't plan on dealing with my mortality till I was probably about 75, so maybe, give it a thought then. And it's scared, but I have a God that I got here, and I didn't believe in God when I came into the rooms. And so I got a God and a lot of friends, and right now everything is perfect. I thought I might have a bad Christmas, and I turned out having a wonderful Christmas, probably one of the better, most peaceful AA Christmases I've had in a long time. But last year at Christmas, I went down to see my dad, and he was in a hospital in Oceanside, and he was eating permanently through a tube put in his stomach. In Alcoholics Anonymous, I was able to repair that relationship. We hadn't spoken to each other in 14 years. First time I was allowed to see him was when I was about 4 years sober, and it was at Thanksgiving, and my brother arranged it. So there was a house full of people, 50 people, so Dad would be safe. And everything was going along pretty good, and about halfway through the day, my grandmother says, "Has anybody seen my purse? I can't find my purse." Now, two things happened immediately. My dad looked across the room to find me, and I felt like I took her purse. And I had to stand there and say, I didn't take her purse. So, we started off like that, and we ended up in where I was able to hold him and when he cried. in my arms about losing the only woman he ever loved, my mother. And we had this great relationship. So I'm there with him last Christmas Day, not this one, the year before. And I didn't order in dinner because I felt like it would be really rude to eat a big Christmas Day dinner in front of him as he's eating through his tube, you know. So I stayed with him, and then I left, and I was driving back. And I thought, while I was there, he asked if I would maybe get him some medicine that he could take that would make him fall asleep and not wake up, because he wanted to die with his dignity. He didn't want to die in a linoleum home place with people changing his diapers. And his mind was clear as a bell. And my dad was an old cop, you know, from the old school. So I told him I would do that for him. And I left that day with no intention of really doing it. I'll just put it off, you know. I'll deal with that later. And so driving back, you know, I thought, well, if I get off the freeway and stop at a Denny's for the Christmas Day special, I will be suicidal. I will never make it home. I'll run my car against the freeway or something. I'm better off not eating. I just couldn't see, like, there you are in Denny's next to all the truckers and stuff, you know, like, Merry Christmas, hey, you know. So, you know, I drove home, figured, hey, I'll be hungry. So about 4 blocks from my house is a woman who's about 20 years sober, Nancy S., and I have to drive by her place to get to my place. And I saw there were still lights on. So I pulled in, and there were still people moving. So I went in. She asked me how I was doing. I felt safe enough to tell her how my day was. So about 15 people from AA there recreated Christmas Day for me. They warmed the food, put it all, sat around the table with me, and I felt, again, that warmth and love that's in Alcoholics Anonymous. And then a few months later, March, I get a phone call that the sheriffs down there were with my dad, and he had taken, like a child, he had taken a note and big safety pin and pinned it on his chest and wrote a letter to me, and he had taken a plastic bag and put over his head and ended his life. And the note said, Dear Bob, I want you to know how much I love you and how much I admire you, and how proud I am to be your father, and I'm so proud of who you are in Alcoholics Anonymous. I hope you could forgive me for this. I didn't want to burden you with that favor I asked. Love, Dad. And I thought, well, this Christmas is the first Christmas without him, and I'll you know, be heavy or whatever. And I've just been celebrating it. I just get these little visits from him, these little wonderful little flashbacks to me being on the first time I had a bicycle with the trainer wheels, you know, and me heading down a hill and him running after me, you know, the nice visits, you know. And so, you know, I'm a blessed guy, and, you know, want to thank Tracy and Terry for asking me to come here. This is a meeting that I've come to consistently in my sobriety, even when it was at other locations, and I've got a lot of friends here, a lot of people that you know, I might come in here a lot of Saturday nights and just be in Bob world, you know, and go a little sit in my thing and kind of be, you know, don't talk to me. But I'm just in Bob world, come up anyways, and, you know, and I always feel like the warmth and the love that's here. And, you know, I guess probably the hardest thing about when you share at AA meeting is you know, try to find the words to describe something that they're not words for. Thank you.
Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst and one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right, but I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.